This is part 4, our story of Lamu, the human from another world. Now, we went through understanding his mission was to understand stupidity, slavery, suffering, struggle, savagery, superstition, all of these things. He wanted to understand the 7 or 9 S's of sin in the human story. And so our friend Lamu, who came to Earth many times with the help of sorcerers and alchemists and the priests and priestesses of his world, his home world, that is 200, 300,000 years ahead of humanity on Earth. This is part 4 of his story. And we're going to talk about what his home world is like. But before I get into that, why do I tell these stories? Why do I have this channel? What is ApexHumanity all about? It's about a world that works. It's not about creating a better world or saving people. It's not about any of that. It's about a world that works. A world that works. We have become too complacent with poverty, with slavery, with stupidity, with suffering. All of it is preventable and unnecessary and contrived. We are living in a system where suffering, stupidity, slavery, savagery, superstition, all these things are constantly being reinforced. There are entire teams of people working hard so that they maintain these things. And guess what? The people that are working to maintain these systems know that the systems don't work, and they know that there's a better solution. But they are profiting from this mire in which the people of Earth find themselves. I'm going to be very careful when I tell these stories to separate the people of Earth from humanity, because humanity is spread throughout the cosmos, forever and ever, amen. Okay? And if you don't know that, then that's fine. You don't have to believe this. Just follow the story and like it because it's interesting and weird and gives your brain a kind of a respite from the stupidity of life. So thank you for watching. Those of you who watched, thank you for the likes. Thank you for all the sticking with me, even though I cuss people out and tell them go fuck themselves. It's usually hypothetical, but it's very rare that I'll signal, pick out a specific person and tell them go fuck off. I don't think it's ever happened once, but I usually will pick on a hypothetical person that doesn't exist and say go fuck yourself. But for those of you who are here for really the fun, the interest of it, and just the entertainment of it, thank you for watching. So we are here at part 4 of StoryThyme, and Lamu. So let's talk about the world of Lamu. All of this is off the top of my dome. I just go with the flow. All right. So the pause in my work. All right. So the world of Lamu. The world of Lamu is the human homeworld. It's one of the main human homeworlds. The name of the place is Ganat Yetifa. And at least as they called it, Ganat Yetifa. And that just means, or Beta, paradise, homeworld. You can look this term up, you'll find it. Ganat Yetifa. And if you speak Amarinya, you know what I'm talking about. And this place it's a realm. We'll call it a planet. It's slightly larger than Earth. It is in a binary star system. So there's a binary system with 2 suns. I think it has multiple moons depending on the time of the year. But because this is like a elliptical, it's a weird orbit on their suns and moons and things like that. A lot of the stuff they've crafted. I mean, 200,000 years old, they can put celestial bodies in place if they want to. They've understood how things work, and so they're able to do these things. Anyway, let's just get on the ground with this because it gets too complicated to describe their world and spatial things. So Ganat Yatifa is an interesting place because all of humanity is represented there. And on Earth, the people of Earth are derived from a specific genetic experiment. And so all of the people of Earth are, for the most part, a version of brown. You have the very, 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 very light browns to the north, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed people. When they sit in the sun, they turn a little bit brown, tan. And then you have the really, 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 really rich brown people in the equatorial regions. They turn almost a licorice color or a ebony color. But that's Earth. Humans throughout reality and throughout the cosmos come in all colors. There are the cerulean humans. They are a bluish color. And there are humans that have a reddish hue, like they actually look like the color red. And they have, again, they have the same variety of complexions that you have here on Earth. So if you have the cerulean race of people, they're humans. They're not humanoids. They're actually humans, 12-stranded DNA people. So their complexions range from like a baby sky blue all the way to a deep sapphire. It's like Earth. You got the very, very light-skinned people to the north of the planet, and you have the equatorial people that are almost charcoal colored. Welcome, Octavia, back. We're telling a story right now. This is a story. And then we have, but you have humans of various colors. And the colors of complexion, like the skin colors of these humans, are based on the diet, the variety, and the planet or the realms in which they come from. Certain humans are more of a chlorophyll type human. They have a greenish color to them. And that's because their home world is conducive to that sort of structure. And then you have the ceruleans. And by the way, Earth, and pardon me, I can't read all of that. I will read them as much as I can. Earth has had incursions of these various other types of human races. Because, and you'll see in certain ethnic groups or in certain types of people, remnants of different incursions. There was a blue race of people that lived on this planet. They went underground for a period of time because of the change in the amount of ultraviolet radiation coming from the sun. It was impacting them, so they had to go underground to protect themselves. And they eventually left and went off-world. But they were blue, and they were various shades of blue. And that's where you get some of the ideas about blue gods like Krishna and Shiva and others, these others, Rama, whatever. You know, you had people that were blue-skinned people, various complexions. They just kind of went away like 20 or 30,000 years ago or something like that. It just wasn't conducive for them anymore, so they stopped being here. But you see remnants of those people in northern peoples. They have blue eyes. These people had blue eyes. That is a remnant of them. But anyway, getting back to the home world, Genet Yetifa, which is where Lamu is from, the human alien that came here to study humans over the many millennia before the eradication of people on Earth. Every single human race is represented in this world, Genet Yetifa. It's one of the 5 home worlds of the human race. And the thing that differs with that world and the Earth is that the mountains there are not jagged and rugged. All of the high elevations are covered with vegetation. The oxygen levels on that planet are upwards of 30% in the atmosphere. It's upwards of 30%. The moisture content of the atmosphere is much higher than here. It is a humid planet, but not an unpleasantly humid planet. You could think of perhaps Costa Rica at 4,000 feet. It's clean, it's clear, maybe 6,000 feet. It's clean, it's clear. There's a humidity to the air, but it's not oppressive. Everything is green and lush. There are, you could imagine, like there's rolling hills and plains and things like that. They have beaches. There are no deep oceans. Everything is more like a sea. There are many lakes and rivers. It's a very verdant planet. All of the species on Earth that have gone extinct, like the megafauna from pre-10,000 BC, are all living and very populous there. There are varieties of fruit. There are no vegetables on that planet. It's all fruit type species of plants. Plants like trees that produce fruits, vines. Many of the vegetable type plants were genetically modified from fruit bearing plants on that homeworld for Earth. And so anyway, Lamu is all aware of this stuff. He learned all that stuff when he was studying human worlds that were, or at least worlds that have the human genetic component that are unevolved, worlds like that. And so This is a world that works. There is no disease. There is no poverty. There is no religion. There is no science. It is sorcery and magic in our terms. Like when you see what they're doing, being able to open up portals, like they just literally they have pieces of technology. You can call it technology, but it's all integrated into the structure of their homeworld. And so they don't have anything like spaceships, and that's all Earth stuff. That's all. I don't even. It's so silly here. It's like a clown world here, but there are no spaceships. There are no any of that stuff, and they don't ever travel in physical form to other worlds except for the homeworld system, because the components of their body won't survive in other systems. And so all that they do is they signal in on a certain world. They find out what the ecosystems and the structures of that world are, and then they utilize the components of those worlds to create vessels that they can use to connect their consciousness with. And so Earth, anytime you see aliens, they're not aliens, they're from here. The Greys, those are usually like robots or whatever that are made out of stuff from this place. Like they're made of genetic material from Earth, and they're utilized to kind of observe and take data and put it into the system and then upload it to the cloud, as you could say. They're just like they're robots basically. They're not real people. There is a great race of humans that live on this world as well. Anyway, I digress. Hybrid species we'll talk about later on. But anyway, Lamu is a human like you and I, but he's a human. We are people from Earth. But he's a real human, and humans on there generally are like between 12 and 18 feet tall. That's their height. And they perfect bodies, no crooked teeth or anything like that. They don't have any blemishes. They're perfectly fine. They live for centuries and centuries and centuries, and when they're done with their body, they just leave the body, and the body dissolves back into the system, or the body is utilized some other way. So anyway, but you will never see aliens from other worlds walking around in physical form. Anytime you see something like that, it's either a human in a suit. It's all BS. It's not real. It's not real. Okay, understand that. If you again, I'm telling a story. If you want to go to an extraterrestrial world, you have to leave your body on Earth because it will not survive. It will be destroyed. You can't take it out of the system. That's the quarantine process. But your consciousness can be encapsulated and it can be projected onto another plane of existence, onto another timeline. That is what dreams are. Okay? And so Lamu and his culture, they know this stuff. They've not only understood what consciousness is, a very high form of electromagnetic energy that is aware of its own existence, but they've learned how to harness it, how to manipulate it, how to transmit it, how to encapsulate it, and how to transfer it from timeline to timeline, from dimension to dimension, reality to reality. Dreams for them are just a window into another reality, into another solid, real, physical world. And they have found ways to access the interface and transmit themselves across that interface. So, Lamu comes from a world of a technological advancement, spiritual advancement. There is no science. It's just spirituality on a level that's way beyond words. And they practice magic and sorcery and enchantment and all this stuff. And so that's where he comes from. And so to see a world as broken, so basically the people on Earth, the humanoids that live here, live on like, it's almost like if you had a rock and a little bit of water fell on it, and like some shit and some mold and some other things, and then life forms developed in that shit mold rock. There's going to be living forms there. They're not going to be super advanced or super special, but they're going to be conscious. They're going to be living. They're going to be there. It's not going to be a really pretty world either. It's going to be slimy. It's going to be disgusting and smelly, but that's their world. That's Earth. I hate to break it to you. If you saw the world of Ganat Yetifa and the beauty and the pleasure and the peace, I mean, there's no such thing as peace in this world. It just doesn't exist. You come here and you find yourself. I mean, nature gets really close. You know, it gets really close. But the resonance of that planet is that world, the home world, and that's just one of the 5 home worlds. and the human forms that are there are compatible with that world. And so even human forms, kind of like what you find on Earth, are there. And it's, you know, it's designed such that just about anybody can pass through the portals and get there. Again, you can't really necessarily take your physical form there, at least not from this place, because the genetic component, the human genetic component here is not high enough, you know. So anyway, it's a beautiful place. It's very functional. It works. There's no starvation or disease or death or anything like that. Life is eternal there. Everything that there has this resonance. Like there's a light that comes out of everything. There is no night, by the way. They have a binary star system. So there is no time where there's darkness. It just does not exist. On Earth, there was a time where there was no darkness as well. There was like several tens of thousands of years where the upper atmosphere was, they did something to the upper atmosphere that allowed it to be illuminated. So there was like this, it's kind of like the Aurora Borealis, but it was much more, it was actually an active technological thing where there was, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was basically light all the time. It was bright all the time. Nighttime was kind of like dusk, but it was a dusk that was a very interesting kind of, it was almost like you would go into this, it's like your brain waves would change when the suns were like at their equal spot away from the Earth. It would get a little bit darker. They would reach a similar spot, and it would just be this kind of dusk dawn time period that lasted a couple of hours, and it was kind of like your brain would change a little bit. And so that one's harder to explain. There are not a lot of correlates between this world and that one. The color of the sky was different. You know, it was blue still, but it was a little bit different. Again, there were 5 homeworlds, but this is the one that Lamu came from, and it's the place from where I'll describe the port, like how do they travel between different worlds. Okay, again, you cannot take your physical body necessarily to another world. There are some ways to do that if the world has a system or a structure or an ecosystem similar to Ganat Yetifa. And if your body was formed there, and by the way, there are not many children on Ganat Yetifa. The majority of all life forms there are adult life forms because they don't need children. Children are on Earth because the people here are broken, like their spirits are messed up. And so children are the ones that are like the channels of life. Adults are like husks. They're empty, almost. But the children here are actually how life continues on the planet. You know, little baby animals and stuff like that, animals bring life too. Animals are full of life, but people, the children of the people here and animals are the ones in plants and whatnot. They have that light. They have that spark in them. Hello, Victoria. Welcome back. We're telling a story. This is part 4 of a thing. Let me see if I can turn my light up. I can't because this phone will get hot and then it'll freak out and turn off. Ah, that's an interesting. Pateka Inshunchi. That's an interesting name. All right, Pateka. Welcome, welcome. I'm just telling a story about Lamu, the one who came to Earth along with several other sorcerers. You guys might call them scientists. To understand the Earth and see if there was a way to salvage humanity before humanity got eradicated for like the 8th time. Peoples on Earth get wiped out so many times. People don't know how many times they've been like called off the planet. The geneticists are starting to notice it, and when you look at the human genome, they know this now. They've said this multiple times. The human population is knocked down to like 10,000 members. It's probably less than that. It was probably closer to 1,000 to 500 breeding pairs. Okay, let's be really honest. They don't want to say that because that would mean we're all really inbred. But the population of people that live on this planet has been. You can look it up yourself. This is all stories. Okay, I'm just telling a magical, fanciful story. But humans have been culled off this planet so many times, man. At least 5, but it's probably more like 10 or 12. Like where they're just like, "Meh," and they're just like, "Boop," everybody gone dead, dead. It's happened so many times, and it's likely to happen again very soon. But who knows? Um, so Lamu, our friend, who was trying to see if there's a way to save humanity, and salvage the species and prevent the culling, the final culling, and ending of the project, because the ones that truly run the planet, archons like Satan and whatnot. Satan is not, he's just one of the archons. He's the one that runs this planet, but there are other archons. And they were kind of like, yeah, do we really need to keep the people on Earth going? Like, should we just like wipe them out forever and just be done with this thing? And there's a very strong case for it. Satan has been really, 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 he was very, very adamant. And Satan is the biblical Christian name for this entity. Is the Malaktaus. But he was very empathetic toward the humans for a while, but that was after he had tortured them for like thousands of years. But initially he was like, no, I think that's a mistake. I think they're just worthless creatures. They're worms. We don't like them. Just they're stupid. We don't like them. And so he and his team were not really big on keeping the people of Earth alive and functioning. And so the deluge happened. There was a fire event. There were stones that fell from the sky. There were multiple mud floods. Um, yeah, people don't know how fragile they are. But anyway, in the world that works, the world that Lamu came from, it's a beautiful place. And all of us go back there. Like your energetic frequency goes back to a realm similar to that. It's not physical, but it is physical. But the world where Lamu came from, Ganat, it's actually a physical place. But it's not accessible to the people of this world. They'll never be able to see it or even have any type of access to it. They can come here, but nothing from here can go there. The quarantine is so solid. Let me describe how they get between planets, and I'll shut up. So there's a device that they use, and it's actually integrated into the structure of their homeworld, Ganat. And it's this exceptional thing. It's like, imagine if crystals were to come out of the ground and grow out of the ground and then grow into this sacred geometry um, grid. And then it's like a six-pointed grid, like a we'll say um, a hexagram grid growing out of the ground made of crystal. And it's rooted into the structure of the planet. And there are these opalescent portals on every single angle of that hexagram. In that is a window or a door, like an oval shaped flat surface. That becomes permeable, and it is a portal through which consciousness can pass. But it opens up, and you would place a physical body in that. The consciousness from that body jumps into this device that is integrated into the planet structure, and the consciousness is shot out into whatever realm is selected by the person or the body or the human that is sitting in that device. It's a device that is made of the planet. Ganet Yetifa is made of that structure, and the people on that planet use it from time to time to explore different worlds. And they can pop onto the Earth plane as a newborn baby. Sometimes they'll come in and just see what the energy is like, and they will just be like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with that. That'll be a stillborn or an aborted baby. They'll just be like, boop, pop out. Or they'll come into the world and they'll say, let me walk around. Sometimes they will jump into and do a walk-in, and they may take over your body. Whatever. If you're open, like if your field is open, their consciousness will junk in, and they will observe and experience the human experience through you. If they only want to do it for a moment, and so Lamu did that during the time of Göbekli Tepe, and then during the Assyrian time, he would choose already adult bodies. He would jump into those bodies, and he would observe and experience the world through the lens and the eyes of those bodies. And those are like walk-ins. You'll see people that are just scenery people. They don't have souls. They're just a person walking around. You don't do anything bad to them. You don't know. You'll never know. They talk to you. They interact with you. You think they're real, but they're not. They don't have that their electromagnetic signature, their electromagnetic signature is not like that of a conscious person. It's not as high frequency. It's just a lower frequency. It doesn't mean it's bad or anything like that. They're more like, I don't know, rocks or birds or something like that. They're like part of the scenery. And anyway, so those types of people, the humans from this homeworld, our homeworld, will jump into those people and walk around for 10 years, 5 years, and then jump out. You'll see there's cases of people in the world where they'd be like, oh, so and so took this psychedelic and then they were not themselves anymore. Well, they were probably never them. They probably were never anything. You just were interacting with someone that was using their body for the period of time that you knew them. They wanted to get to know you. They were observing you from the homeworld. They were like, "Oh, that's an interesting person. I'd like to know their story." It's like if you watched a movie that you liked, whatever popular movie, you're like, "Oh, let me go and live in that movie and see what it's like to be in the Avengers or to be in Aquaman or Star Trek. I want to go and live in the Star Trek story." That's what Earth is kind of like for them. And so they'll jump in and their consciousness will be placed into a body and they'll experience this world for however long they want to. And then they're like, okay, I'm done. And then they just pop out and then they're done. And so, uh, a lot of them will forget that because it makes it too weird here, because that's kind of one of the, like, a waivers in a way. Is you sign a waiver saying, I'm probably going to forget everything about myself while I'm in the game, but whatever, it's the game. And when I come back, I'll go through whatever process to realign myself. But anyway, so that's what Lamu is, and that's how he came here multiple times. Reincarnation is not really a thing, but it is a thing. Anyway, they understand that science a lot better. And yeah, so that's what I have to say about that. The story time number 4. I don't know if it was so much of a story as it was just an explanation of technology and stuff like that. If you get the Whispering Archangel, Dreams and Nightmares of the Christ Child, it was written in 2010. It talks about all this stuff. So anyway, you can find that on Amazon.com as well. All right. That's all I got to say about that. Stay Apex. The world is what it is.